Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting.
So glad to be here.
Today, China considers building a wall around its cutting-edge AI models. Legendary coder John Carmack proposes a hardware hack that could upend the chip market, and we look at the macro reality of why our tech gets infinitely cheaper while our actual lives get, way more expensive.
Yeah, the entire tech stack is just fracturing right before our eyes. From the raw silicon it runs on, right down to the geopolitical powers controlling who actually gets to hit the enter key.
Right, exactly. So imagine a web where you never see an ad again, but your AI assistant is spending fractions of a penny every millisecond just to read the news. Today on the Data Wire, we are staring down a massive collision of state-level security, radical hardware shifts, and deep societal impacts.
That's a lot to unpack.
It really is. So if you are trying to understand who wins, who loses, and what this all means for your portfolio and your career over the next, say, 5 years, you are in the right place. We are cutting through the noise.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's start with the highest stakes macro story on the board right now, which is the fracturing of global AI supply chains. There's this report highlighted by the handle at Jucan05, and it summarizes Reuters reporting that China's Ministry of Commerce is holding these closed-door meetings.
Oh, yeah, with Alibaba, ByteDance, and Z, AI, right?
Exactly. And the agenda on the table is restricting overseas access to their advanced AI models.
But you have to look at the immediate second-order effect of a move like this. This completely mirrors the U.S. export controls we've seen placed on American frontier companies like Anthropic.
Right. It's tit for tat.
Exactly. What we are witnessing is the active balkanization of the AI internet. And, when you build digital walls like this, you inevitably fracture the open source ecosystem.
But let's break down the actual mechanism of this proposed wall, because the report mentions classifying AI technology leaks as crimes, limits on foreign investments, and this tiered framework for model releases.
Yeah, the tiering system.
Right. Why does a tiering system matter so much in this context?
Because it allows a government to control the bleeding edge, right, while still exporting the commodity layer.
Oh, I see.
Like, a tiered framework means a company like Alibaba might be allowed to release a small, less capable model globally just to maintain their market presence. But their most advanced strategic models, the ones capable of deep reasoning or cyber-offensive tasks, those are legally locked within national borders.
Wow.
Yeah, it ensures the state retains an absolute monopoly on the highest tier of intelligence.
And that geopolitical tug-of-war is directly triggering a massive counterstrike in the open source community. Because, if the closed-source giants in the U.S. and China are locking down their best models, developers desperately need an alternative.
They do. They need a way out.
Right. And Chamath Palihapitiya, posting at Chamath on X, just announced that Social Capital 8090 is running massive recursive optimization benchmarks.
Oh, the benchmark war.
Yeah. They are actively pitting American open source models, specifically starting with NVIDIA's Nemotron, against Chinese open-weight models.
Well, the underlying goal there is highly strategic, right? Chamath wants to prove that layering a third-party control plane over an open-weight model is vastly cheaper and more efficient than relying on the APIs of closed-source giants like OpenAI or Google.
It's a total shot across the bow.
Oh, it is a direct, calculated attack on the API monopolies.
Okay, wait, I need to pause you there to make sure we are all on the same page.
Sure.
What exactly do you mean by a third-party control plane? Because that sounds super technical.
It's not as complex as it sounds. Think of the open-weight AI model as a massive, incredibly powerful engine.
Okay.
But an engine alone doesn't get you to the grocery store. You need a steering wheel, brakes, a navigation system. The control plane is that surrounding software infrastructure.
Oh, like the routing and safety guardrails?
Exactly. The memory management, the safety checks. If developers can build their own custom control planes around free open-source engines, they just don't have to pay the massive markup that the closed-source giants charge for their fully packaged vehicles.
Which explains why the heavyweights are, rushing to give away those engines for free right now. Look at what Tencent just did to escalate this whole thing.
The high 3 drop.
Yeah, the handle at Tencent Thunyuan just dropped high 3. This is a 295 billion parameter mixture of experts model. And they released it under an Apache 2.0 license, meaning it's incredibly friendly for commercial use.
Unbelievable.
Plus, they threw in a 2-week free API trial.
Yeah, but before we crown Tencent the savior of open source, let's ask the cynical question here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Is this flavor of open source actually sustainable? Or is it just a predatory pricing strategy?
Oh, interesting.
I mean, if you are a massively subsidized tech giant, you can afford to bleed capital on API costs just to starve your competitors of market share. You release a 295 billion parameter model for free, you make it Apache 2.0, and you watch the mid-tier American AI startups collapse because they simply cannot match a price point of zero.
That is, wow, that's dark, but probably true. Wait, before we get into the economics of the price war, breakdown mixture of experts for those of us just trying to keep up.
Right, the MOE architecture.
Yeah, why is a 295 billion parameter model suddenly claiming it can punch at the trillion parameter weight class?
It's all about efficiency. Think of a standard neural network as a massive committee where everyone has to vote on every single question.
Sounds terrible.
It is.
Yeah.
If you ask it a math question, the poetry experts and the history experts still have to wake up and process the data. It's computationally exhausting.
Right.
A mixture of experts, or MOE, acts more like a corporate switchboard. It takes your prompt, identifies it as a math problem, and routes it only to the specific subnetworks the experts trained on math.
Oh, so it ignores the poetry guys entirely.
Exactly. So even though the model has 295 billion parameters in total, it might only use 30 billion for any given query.
And that routing efficiency is crucial because Tencent can afford to give away 295 billion parameters for free due to their massive state and corporate backing. But for every other company trying to survive this price war, the math just doesn't work.
It really doesn't.
The hardware to run these models is prohibitively expensive. You cannot engage in a price war if the compute costs bankrupt you.
And that fundamental hardware bottleneck is exactly why the entire industry lost its mind over that viral post from John Carmack.
Yes, the legendary coder behind Doom and Quake. Posting at Idea Carmack, he dropped this hardware theory that basically challenges the foundational assumption of how we run AI.
It's brilliant, really.
Yeah.
But it requires a fundamental shift in how we think about memory. The current assumption is that AI requires high bandwidth memory, or HBM, which is astronomically expensive.
Right, everyone is fighting over HBM.
But Carmack is arguing that for inference, the act of running a trained model, we don't need HBM at all. We could use NAND flash memory, which is over 100 times cheaper per gigabyte.
Okay, let me try to visualize this because it is a dense concept. Think of video game rendering like a massive warehouse where a worker is constantly running to random aisles to grab items.
Sure.
The player might look left, look right, shoot a wall. The system has no idea what data it needs next, so you need hyper-fast, random access memory RAM to sprint to any aisle instantly.
That's classic game rendering.
But AI inference isn't a warehouse runner. It's more like reading a book. The model reads the weights sequentially.
Right.
You don't need a worker sprinting everywhere. You just need a reliable conveyor belt pulling data in order. And Carmack is saying NAND flash memory is perfectly capable of being that conveyor belt for a fraction of the cost.
That is the exact mechanism.
Yeah.
100 times cheaper. If you swap the warehouse runner for the conveyor belt, the cost of running an AI drops exponentially.
The fallout from this was immediate. Yushan Wang, the former CEO of Reddit at Yushan, posted, "Meta really fumbled this guy," referring to Carmack's time there.
Which is pretty funny.
And at Bubble Boy, a prominent advisor, said, "Carmack's post felt like Jesus coming down and tapping my shoulder," basically validating what VCs have been desperately hoping for all year.
Well, the VCs are praying for this.
But hold on, I have to play devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
If it is this simple and 100 times cheaper, why didn't NVIDIA or AMD do this 3 years ago? What is the technical catch here?
Well, because it is not a simple plug-and-play swap. Carmack himself noted the massive caveats. You were talking about moving to stream-to-scratch-pad designs.
Stream-to-scratch-pad.
Yeah, that requires rewriting the core architecture of how the software talks to the hardware. He even referenced data duplication techniques inspired by how old CD-ROMs used to read data.
Wait, like burning a CD?
Exactly. To avoid the laser jumping around, game developers used to burn the exact same audio file multiple times on the disk so it could be read sequentially. We would have to start doing that with AI weights.
Wow, so it requires a total software rewrite.
Yes. And more importantly, flash memory has strict write endurance limits.
Meaning what exactly?
You can read from a flash drive all day long, but every time you write new data to it, the physical silicon degrades slightly. Training a massive AI model requires constantly writing and rewriting trillions of parameters. NAND flash would just burn out.
Oh, I see.
So training these models is still entirely bottlenecked by expensive HBM.
But is it really that simple to split the two? If the race to artificial general intelligence requires constant, continuous training of ever larger models, won't the demand for HBM stay sky high regardless of inference costs?
Trading demand will remain high, yes.
Yeah.
But the volume of the market is in inference.
Right.
Think about it. A model is trained once, maybe updated monthly. But it's queried by millions of users billions of times a day. If you drop the cost of those billions of daily queries to near zero,
Yeah.
you fundamentally pop the valuation bubble of hardware companies whose massive market caps are predicated on selling premium memory for server racks doing inference.
That is wild. If Carmack's vision of dirt cheap, highly efficient inference actually materializes, we have to look at what these models are doing with all that compute under the hood.
We do.
Which brings us to a fascinating interpretability deep dive published by Anthropic at Anthropic AI. They've discovered what they are calling a J-space inside their Claude model.
This is where we peer inside the black box.
Yeah.
They use Jacobian-based techniques to isolate Claude's neural activations.
Okay, I need to stop you right there. For those of us who aren't deep in advanced calculus, what exactly is a Jacobian-based technique in this context?
Fair question. In simple terms, a Jacobian matrix helps you understand how a tiny change in one variable affects a complex system of other variables.
Okay.
Imagine you were driving a car. The Jacobian would measure exactly how a 1-degree turn of the steering wheel impacts the traction of all 4 tires simultaneously. Anthropic applied this mathematical mapping to the billions of parameters inside Claude.
And what they found is just mind-blowing. They mapped out a global workspace inside the model that acts like an area for silent reasoning. Think about your own brain for a second. When you speak to a friend, you are only verbalizing a tiny fraction of what you are actually processing. You're reading their body language, remembering past conversations, judging your own tone, all silently.
Right, the internal monologue.
Exactly. Anthropic found a strikingly similar divide inside Claude. The model is broadcasting concepts internally, doing silent bug detection and identifying images without ever affecting the actual text tokens it spits out to the user.
Which immediately sparked a massive philosophical debate, as you'd expect. Boris Power, head of applied research at OpenAI at Boris Empower, drew a direct parallel between this J-space and human access consciousness.
Access consciousness.
Yeah, which is the part of our thoughts we can actively manipulate and report on. But let's take a deeply skeptical angle here.
Please do.
This is a brilliant mathematical discovery for interpretability.
Right.
But let's not kid ourselves about phenomenal consciousness. There is still no what it feels like to be Claude. You have to wonder, are we deliberately anthropomorphizing an algorithm? Are we attaching heavily loaded human words like consciousness and global workspace simply to boost startup valuations and keep the media hype cycle spinning?
I hear your skepticism, I really do. But whether the model is conscious or just running complex math, its execution capabilities are getting terrifying.
Oh, absolutely.
Look at the post from Pietro Schirano at Schirano. He shared a demo of Fable AI writing a completely original NES video game called Emberwing.
Oh, I saw this. Insane.
We are not talking about a high-level Python script here. The AI wrote this from scratch in raw 6502 assembly language.
Raw assembly, let that sink in.
It generated the custom pixel art graphics, composed the soundtrack, built the gameplay mechanics, and constrained all of it to fit perfectly on a real physical Nintendo cartridge.
It is entirely bypassing the abstraction layers that humans rely on to build software.
And that creates a massive irony when you look at what human developers are celebrating right now. For example, Mitchell Hashimoto at Mitchell just proudly announced that his terminal emulator, Ghosty, is now 2 times faster than any other terminal for I/O throughput. Right? And then you have Emil Kowalski, a design engineer at Emil Kowalski, sharing this beautifully curated list of React UI libraries to make data visualization prettier.
It's just so perfectly ironic.
If you are a developer listening to this, Mitchell's new hyperfast terminal is cool, but Pietro's AI writing raw assembly should make you seriously question where you are investing your skill-building time.
Exactly. Human developers are spending thousands of hours building exquisitely beautiful UI libraries and lightning-fast text editors to make coding slightly more ergonomic for other humans.
Right.
Meanwhile, the AI doesn't need a text editor. It is bypassing high-level languages entirely and spitting out raw machine code directly to the metal. If the machine writes the machine code, the beautiful terminal emulator just becomes a museum piece.
Wow. And as the code fundamentally changes, the economic infrastructure of the web is quietly mutating to match it. The handle at Skookum highlighted a massive shift flying completely under the radar. Cloudflare just introduced the BY402 HTTP payment protocol.
This could very well be the death knell for the internet as we know it today.
But how does that actually work technically? Because if an AI agent is pinging an API 10,000 times a second to scrape data, you can't have a standard credit card processing fee for every single ping. The math breaks immediately.
Which is exactly why Cloudflare is doing this at the edge using stablecoins. The BY 402 protocol essentially revives the old 402 payment required error code that was built into the internet decades ago but never really used.
Oh, wow.
Now, it allows a website to demand a micropayment, literally a fraction of a cent, to access a resource, because it uses stablecoins and settles instantly at the network edge. Without routing through a traditional bank, there are no redirects, no account creations, and no massive processing fees.
So it's completely frictionless.
Completely. And this isn't just a neat trick for humans to avoid banner ads. This is the financial infrastructure for AI agents.
Because they don't look at ads.
Exactly. When an AI doesn't have eyeballs to look at ads, it needs a programmatic way to pay a toll for data. The BY 402 protocol means the ad-driven internet is dying, and the machine-to-machine transaction economy has arrived.
Man, so we've moved from the theoretical web economy to the corporate trenches. How is this agentic behavior actually colliding with real-world human workflows today?
It is happening incredibly fast.
Yeah, Gemini app just announced they are integrating Google business profiles directly into Gemini. The AI can now pull real customer reviews and local performance data to proactively generate operational insights for business owners.
Though it's blocked in the EEA and UK due to regulations, naturally.
Europe remains the museum of the digital age, preemptively regulating technologies they haven't even figured out how to build yet.
Sad but true.
Meanwhile, at ChatGPT Tech just rolled out PowerPoint generation globally. You can create, edit, and polish entire slide decks directly inside the chat interface, and the productivity hacks are getting incredibly meta.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Rob Hallam at RobJ3D3 went viral with a workflow where he literally feeds articles about AI coding back into Claude Fable 5 and prompts the AI to review his workflow and give him 5 ways to be more productive.
But ask yourself this. Are we actually getting more productive, or are we just creating a closed-loop system of artificial busywork?
What do you mean?
We are using an AI to generate a 50-slide PowerPoint deck in 3 seconds, which we then send to a colleague who inevitably tasks their AI with summarizing that 50-slide deck into a 3-point email. We aren't doing more meaningful work, we're just inflating the volume of digital noise.
That is a depressing but completely accurate take. And while the software eats its own tail in the office, the tech is aggressively pushing into physical reality too. Ritwik Pavan at RitwikPav shared a look at Carely. It's a $249 a year screenless AI wearable for elder care.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it completely shifts away from active check-ins. It just runs independently on cellular networks, learns an individual's normal daily routines, tracks their biometrics passively, and only alerts family if something falls out of the pattern, like a sudden fall or exiting a safe zone at an unusual hour.
It is the ambient digitization of healthcare. It moves AI from a chatbot you talk to an invisible infrastructure that just monitors you.
And on a much larger physical scale, we have massive aerospace moves. Benji Taylor, the lead designer at Benji Taylor, shared the rebranding effort transitioning XAI to SpaceXAI, complete with glowing plasma logos.
Of course.
And literally hours later, at SpaceX launched the Transporter 17 mission. A Falcon 9 rocket put 81 different payloads into orbit in a single launch, bringing their rideshare total to over 1,800 small satellites.
It is an incredible spectacle, but again, look at the second-order effect here. Space debris.
Right.
Are we effectively outsourcing low Earth orbit to one single corporate entity? Yes, there are 25-year deorbit rules in place, but the sheer volume of traffic in low Earth orbit is becoming a critical infrastructure vulnerability. We are building the neural network of the planet in an environment that is increasingly crowded, traveling at 70,000 miles an hour.
Which brings us to the ultimate macro reality check of this entire deep dive. Mark Andreessen at PMarca on X shared a chart plotting price changes in the U.S. economy from the year 2000 to 2025. Now, we're just looking at the raw data provided in this post, completely impartially, but the numbers are staggering.
They really are.
The chart clearly shows government-influenced and highly regulated sectors skyrocketing. Over the last 25 years, hospital services are up 281%, college tuition is up 197%, housing is up 111%. But when you look at the market-driven tech sectors, televisions are down 98%, toys are down 74%, cell service is down 44%.
And this connects back to everything we've talked about today. This is the ultimate second-order effect of our entire technological trajectory.
Oh.
We have built an ecosystem where we can use a model like Fable to write an entire, fully functioning video game in raw assembly code in a matter of seconds. We can buy a flat-screen TV for pennies on the dollar compared to 20 years ago.
Right.
But the actual essentials of building a secure adult life, healthcare, education, putting a roof over your head, those are increasingly out of reach for the average person. Tech is inherently deflationary. It drives the cost of bits and bytes to zero. But we cannot digitize a hospital bed.
Exactly the disconnect. You can't code your way out of local zoning laws preventing new housing construction.
Precisely. We are building a world of infinite, cheap digital abundance, floating on top of a physical reality of crippling scarcity.
It is a heavy macro reality, but the culture surrounding this tech remains as loud and gamified as ever. Bajan Tungus, at Tungus, was joking about GPT 5.6 dropping at exactly midnight Pacific time. AI model releases have completely replaced sneaker drops in the cultural zeitgeist.
Basically a sport now.
You have people trading on prediction markets like Polymarket, counting down to the second, betting real money on exact release windows. The culture around this tech has become a financialized sport.
Well, if you want my prediction for tomorrow, ignore the prediction markets betting on model drops and watch the NAND flash manufacturers.
Oh, tying it back to Carmack.
Exactly. The moment one of these major AI labs actually proves John Carmack's inference theory works at scale, the moment they show they can run a frontier model on cheap flash memory without a massive performance hit, we will see a violent pivot in capital. Money will instantly drain away from the HBM producers. And the open source labs will immediately use this cheap hardware infrastructure to absolutely gut big tech's API pricing. The moat isn't the model anymore. The moat is the memory.
I'll leave you with this final thought. If human terminal emulators are becoming obsolete while AI bypasses high-level languages to write raw machine code directly to the metal, what happens to the multi-billion-dollar coding boot camps currently promising to teach us the very languages the machines have already abandoned? Think about that before you sign up for your next certification. Thank you for navigating the data wire with us. We will see you back here tomorrow. This concludes the Daily Vibecasting.